All right, we will go ahead and get started. My name is Brooke Satterfield, and I work in Mayor Andy Burke's office. And we're super excited to have you guys join us today for the webinar. I will go ahead and kick it off to Jermaine, and he'll start us off, and then we'll get started with our panelists.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Jermaine Freeman. I'm Deputy Chief of Staff here in the office of Mayor Andy Burke with the City of Chattanooga. And we just wanted to do some webinars with some small businesses over the course of the next couple of weeks because a lot of small businesses have been given the green light to reopen and to restart by local government and through the direction and the guidance of the governor's office. So we wanted to make sure that we provided some resources like today's webinar to make sure that businesses that are restarting and reopening have the ability to do so safely and effectively while helping us to continue to reduce and prevent the spread of COVID-19. And so yesterday we did a great webinar with Stacy Keating of CBL Properties about the reopening of retail stores. And last week I want to give a big shout out to Steph Hayes over at the Chattanooga Tourism Company for working with Mia Littlejohn from the Proof Incubator, because they did a great webinar about restaurants reopening. And so you're going to see more webinars of this type in our community, which I think is great because it just sort of goes to the spirit of all of us sharing information. And then we are, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, but we're going to eventually do some webinars around gyms and exercise facilities as well as childcare centers. And so we know that close contact businesses such as hair salons, barbershops, nail salons, massage therapy businesses and the like have been given the green light to open this week. So today we invited Sarah Medley, the owner of Studio 59 Salon and Spa, and Rose Riley, the owner of Style Bar Chattanooga, to have a dialogue with Brooke Satterfield, project coordinator here in Mayor Burke's office, about recommendations and best practices that they'll use in their salons as they reopen. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Brooke, who's going to give Sarah and Rose a chance to introduce themselves.
Yes, Sarah and Rose, do you want to go ahead and just introduce yourselves?
Yeah, my name is Sarah Medley from Studio 59 Salon and Spa.
Hi, I'm Rose Riley from Style Bar Chattanooga.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies, for joining us. We are going to just go ahead and jump right into our questions. For our viewers, this is going to be just like a panel. We will go down and we'll go down a list of questions, and I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see the recommendations from the governor as these ladies are answering the questions. And at the end, we will do a quick Q&A for attendees that have questions. So yeah, I will share my screen. And all right, so our first question, we'll just start with Sarah. What types of education are you guys providing staff in preparation for reopening? And are there guidelines from the CDC, State of Tennessee, OSHA, and our local health department that should be adopted?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had our team come together at the salon yesterday, and we went over all of our new protocols, and we had them sign off on the information of all of the guidelines. A lot of the information from these different sources, there's a lot of overlap of information, which is good. But then there's some little pieces that are different from like here and there. So we've just had all of our team members go online and read through all of that and then sign off that they have, educated themselves on that and understand it. And then yesterday, we had a long meeting to talk about what that looks like logistically when we come to reopen, and what our services are going to look like and what the customer service experience is going to look like.
Great. So our second question will go to Rose. How should salon and shop owners adopt and implement the recommendations from the Governor's Tennessee Pledge Guidelines? And then what about temperature taking, hand washing, and just different hygiene policies?
Thank you. Well, first of all, these are things that I have shared with my staff over the years, the importance of hand washing in between guests, and just really making sure that that is being done. As far as like waiting area and the stations, they have all been spread out. So everyone is 6 feet apart. Everything has signage, no waiting area can be used at the time. No beverages are being served, no self-serve coffee. Everyone is texting before they come into the salon, so we won't have a problem with having anyone in our waiting area. Temperatures are taken for each employee before they arrive or before they come into the salon to make sure that they do not have a temperature. As well as the questions that we'll ask our clients and our employees, which are on the Tennessee.gov website to screen customers for illness. So that's some of the things we've done, moving the stations around to give ample space and signage. Our products are on display where someone could touch them, but we do have a sign that just states to let a stylist help clients with that purchase, so they aren't being touched as much.
That's great. Sarah, talk to us about PPE and what types of PPE should be utilized. Masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, all of that type of stuff.
Yeah, so we're really using all of it. So we are a specialized salon, so we've got cutting specialist and coloring specialist. We have decided for our color specialists, they wear gloves anyways, but we are ensuring that they have plenty of gloves to dispose of between each guest, and they'll be washing their hands, of course, between each guest. As for our cutting specialist, we decided that they would just wash their hands in between each guest. It's just not really reasonable, we don't think, for our cutting specialist to use gloves. It's very difficult. So we are using that protocol of frequent hand washing between each guest. Hand sanitizer, that's going to be available to our guest. And our front desk staff to use frequently as well. But really, we want to prioritize hand washing number one, and then, using hand sanitizer, as needed. All of our service providers will be wearing masks, and we are ensuring that every guest of ours that comes into the salon must wear a mask at all times.
Great. Rose, can you talk about best practices or recommendations, or what you guys are going to be doing in terms of deep cleaning the salon and equipment? And then what about inventory or products that are on display that may be more frequently touched?
At the end of each day, we are mopping and deep cleaning, as well as before each day, because things can settle overnight. We have a whole station set up for sanitation. We have our UV lights for our metal. We do a lot of extensions. So all of our tools for extensions, as well as our scissors, will go in a UV sanitizer. We have bottles of barbicide and sprayers on each station to spray each station after a guest has sat there. We're spacing our appointments out about 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, to be able to let that sanitizer sit and do its job, wiping everything down, sanitizing combs and brushes. Our brushes are being cleaned with hot water and soap and dried, and we keep everything in nice sanitized containers for that client, so they know that they are getting a sterilized product. Again, with the products, just encouraging with signage that to let a stylist help them pull the products, ask them what they need, so there's no actual physical touch of those products over time. Yeah.
Great. Let's see, our next question. Sarah, what policies are you putting into place in regards to customer capacity and social distancing guidelines? And then I think both of you have sort of already touched on waiting rooms, or waiting areas, but what about other lounge areas and other frequently populated areas?
Yeah, so I'd like to talk first a little bit about, adhering to the 50% or less of the store occupancy based on the Tennessee's building and fire code standards. So I had the fire marshal come out today to visit with us because I wanted to make sure that, we were definitely doing everything that we could to ensure our guest safety as far as these requirements go. And some of you guys may be wondering this as well. They say 50% or less occupancy of your fire code, but what is that? So the fire marshal, how he calculates that is you take the gross square footage of your building and then you divide it by 200. And that gives you the max capacity of people that you can have in your facility at one time. So that was very informative and very helpful. We luckily have a very large building and facility. So we have had the ability to spread out. So we definitely don't have any concerns about that. Let's see, what else should I answer regarding this topic? Oh, yeah. With the waiting areas, we have removed any of the furniture. So we won't be having any of our guests waiting in any areas. They're going to be waiting in their vehicle. They'll give us a call when they arrive, and we'll give them a call back to let them know when their service provider's ready to take them. Just really minimizing the number of individuals in our facility at one time. Of course, no extra, visitors, just the person who's got the appointment only. We feel pretty confident about this. So if you have any questions, if you're concerned, just reach out to your fire marshal.
I would like to add to that, as a smaller scale salon, we're about 1,200 square feet boutique style salon. We are working, our hours are expanded, more days, have fewer stylists working. We have 4 to 5 stylists working at a time. Our dispensary area is not going to be used for congregating or eating. Fortunately, we're in an area where people can leave and go enjoy lunch somewhere, so that won't be done inside the salon. I've also taken chairs out of the break room area, and only one person at a time to mix color to give everyone ample space so nobody's in a confined area.
Those are really great. Rose, what about, are you guys considering any special hours or appointment times for our vulnerable populations, which would be like senior citizens or medically vulnerable people with pre-existing conditions, and or healthcare workers?
Absolutely. We have a special day each week where only one stylist is in the salon taking those appointments. Again, with ample time in between each of those appointments to sanitize the stations and all frequently touched areas.
Great. Sarah, are you guys doing anything different or anything for your
so somewhat similar to what Rose is doing. We are if we have a guest who's a senior citizen of 65 years or older, we are, asking them, do you feel comfortable, coming into our salon? But of course, before we ask that question, we explain what we're doing. So it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. But in the end, it's really up to them, if they feel comfortable. If they do, then we are scheduling them first thing in the morning. We may have team members come in before the salon really opens for everyone else. But if someone is questionable, or if they're a little concerned, we're recommending them, just maybe hold out for a little bit and let us take care of them when they do feel comfortable.
That's great. I think both of you guys are handling that well. And I think to piggyback off Sarah, what you said, that education piece up front to these vulnerable populations is super important. So let's see, Sarah, I think you guys have kind of touched on this, but talk about, kind of the screening process that you're gonna do for customers and employees as they're coming in.
Yeah, so as Rose mentioned, we're doing the same things. We've got temperature logs for each team member. Whenever they arrive, they take their temperature, or they can take their temperature at home before they arrive. They write their temperature and initial by it each day. And of course, we've got our screening questions that we're asking them, and they check off on it every day. Same thing with all of our guests coming in. We are conducting the screening questions over the phone before, like as we're booking their appointment, so they understand. And then the day of their appointment, we're also going to be asking those same questions.
Great. Let's see. Rose, you can start off with this one. What recommendations do you have for, salon owners or shop owners that are encountering customers that don't want to comply with the standards that you guys have set for your salon, or, the guidelines by the state? How are you guys handling that?
I think there's a simple answer to that question. If we're doing our part and keeping the safety of our customers, I think it's very important that that's equal, that they are doing their part as well to keep everyone in the salon safe, that is a customer and a service provider. I think that they definitely have the right to refuse those things, and we have the right to refuse the service as well. We definitely are being absolutely understanding about it if that will happen, and just encourage them to wait a while until things are a little different, with they can come in and not have to wear a mask and things like that. But at this time, I feel that that's very important to just require those things that we're asking.
Yeah, I agree. Rose, I know you talked a little bit about this, but Sarah, if you want to sort of talk about how you guys are handling staffing at this point. So, staffing levels, how many people you're having there at a time, and then creating shifts, creating these extended hours for cleaning and stuff like that, and then employees congregating in certain areas like break rooms or any common areas like that.
Yeah, we're doing some of the same things that Rose listed out previously as to what she's doing. We have alternating schedules for our team members. Some people are coming in, some days. Other people have the very opposite schedule. So that way it limits the number of guests in our salon at one time. I don't really, this hasn't been an issue so far, and all of our team members are very understanding of it. And so, yeah, the whole just kind of shifting of schedules has been very helpful during this time.
Great. Rose, how are you guys handling things like dressing rooms, changing rooms, bathrooms, different areas like that?
When a client comes in, we will guide them back to where our restroom is, where they will wash their hands when they arrive. We keep our smocks that have been freshly cleaned in plastic bags, and we ask them to put this on. And if they remove their shirts, they put it back in its bag and they carry it with them. And we are throughout the day, of course, sanitizing and cleaning that bathroom, keeping cleaner in there, keeping hand sanitizer, soap stocked, doing regular bathroom checks and sanitation.
Sarah, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot of the same things as well. We're just also, let's see, we're trying to minimize guests kind of roaming around our salon. You know, we want them kind of seated in one area, so that way we know where we need to sanitize when they get up and before the next guest sits down. Yeah, so in our laundering of our robes and capes, of course, we're using the high heat settings, you know, but that's pretty much it.
Great. So have either of you done anything to make sale transactions safer? So like, you know, with regards to swiping credit cards, cash transactions using the same ink pens and stuff like that. Have you guys enacted any new policies there?
Yes, what we're doing is we are saving credit card numbers on file for each of our guests, and we're letting them know when we reschedule their appointment for whenever they come in for their service that we are going to allow for an express checkout. So what that means is when they check in for their appointment, check in by calling in, they let us know if they need any home care. We make sure that they're pre-booked for their next appointment. And at that time, they can let us know if they want to leave a gratuity for one of, the team members. And we let them know as far as what the service is going to look like. Whenever they're finished with their last service, they can just simply walk right out the door. And at that time, we will process that transaction. So there's no handling of cash. It's all by card only. There have been a couple people, a couple of our guests who have kind of questioned that, but that's just an extra measure that we're doing to keep ourselves safe and them too.
Great.
Same. We're doing the same. We also email receipts, so there's no paper handoff, no signing or anything like that. And I think that's a great idea, Sarah, about the pre-booking and that prior call when they call in.
Yeah.
All right, a couple more questions and then we'll go to the attendee questions. We got a couple coming in. Talk about what kind of signage you'll be adding into your salons and what you recommend for other salons as well.
We've got signage posted at every sink in every bathroom about how to properly wash your hands. Everybody needs that reminder right now. Another signage that we're gonna post in frequent areas is the importance of wearing a mask and keeping it on during their visit. That is something that some salon owners who have already reopened their salon, like in Georgia, have really highly recommended to, salon owners like us, is to really emphasize that to your guests, that at no time, at no point can you remove your mask while in the salon.
That's great. That's hard.
Same.
All right.
Yeah.
Last question from on my end. How are you guys using social media and your website to communicate some of these changes?
We have been posting, and we will also do a live call and some things throughout the week. And even as we get going, and we'll just remind everyone, we're also sending out a text to each client beforehand before they get in, and just keeping that communication going and keeping it fresh, and posting and all that sort of thing.
Great.
Yeah, same here. We're creating a tab on our website. I'm not sure if it's up yet, on all of the guidelines that we're following and kind of how their appointment may feel a little bit different during this time, so they know what to expect.
That's great. Creating that upfront expectation is important. All right, we've got a few questions that have come in from the chat, and if Jermaine wants to rejoin us as well. What about children coming into appointments with if their parent is getting a service? What about children?
I'll go ahead and go, if that's okay. If usually when we have children in our salon, that appointment is usually made in conjunction with, let's say, their mother or father's appointment. So that, to us, that's two guests in our salon. So I think just depending upon what age they are, you know, we definitely do want them to be accompanied by their parent. But if they're, you know, a teenager, then we're going to try to recommend that that they're the only guest that comes in, that they don't have their parent. Rose?
We are doing the same. Our clients know that it's even posted on our website that we don't typically take guests under 10 years old. That's just, you know, the way that we service our clientele. But we do ask that no one brings any with them, that only those with an appointment come in.
Do you guys have concerns about like cutting guests' hair when they have a mask on, or any type of service that you would have to provide, or that, you know, close contact businesses would have to provide? Do you have concerns about being able to do those with a mask on?
It's going to be interesting, and we're going to know more as soon as we get to, you know, going through these services with having to have the mask on. You know, when a guest is getting their hair colored, you know, we usually have to get super close to that hairline, and we're just going to inform the guest, you know, we may get color on your mask. And if they're really concerned about that, then we will give them a disposable mask. We may have them, just while we're applying the color, remove the ear loop while holding their mask. We are preparing to get some double-sided tape to adhere to the inside of their mask, so in hopes of that they don't have to sit there and hold it the whole time during their service, that it'll adhere to their face while removing that area. Kind of same for haircuts as well. You know, I mean, we're gonna need to get around the ear area. So we'll just kind of see when we get going tomorrow as far as any other modifications that we'll have to make.
I think what we're going to do is just work around it, you know, move those straps down, encourage guests to wear the ones that loop behind the ears. Again, like you said, Sarah, they may get color on their mask. We have the disposable ones to offer. for those that forget their mask or that prefer not to jeopardize getting color on their mask. But yeah, just kind of working around the best to our ability.
Hey, Brooke, can I add something?
Great. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and just so that everyone knows, and this is going to be especially applicable for gentlemen as they go into the barber shop and if they get their beards shaved or trimmed. Under the governor's current guidelines, services that require any sort of removing of a mask or face covering, so like beard shaving, trimming, but also facials, they are not permitted right now. So for the barbers out there who are used to lining up people's sideburns and beards, which I typically do, that is a no-go under the current Phase 1 guidelines. Those things are not allowed.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, let's see. Have you guys considered, or do you have any of your employees that are going to be wearing face shields, or do you plan on just having them wear masks?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rose.
We originally, when I was studying the OSHA and when Georgia opened, what they were going to do, they were requiring face shields. So I did order everyone face shields, but we have them if a stylist wants to wear them. But we're wearing. We're going to be doing masks, but we do have face shields if a stylist wants them. But I am encouraging wearing just clear lens glasses too, to help protect eyes as an option for stylists.
That's great.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing. We may have face shields when we resume facials. But right now, what we're doing is when the guest is getting their hair shampooed, if they're getting a color service and then a haircut, we're going to encourage that to be kind of a quiet time. So there's not a lot of talking. So just to kind of limit, any potential, exposure, anything like that. But we just really felt like the face shield wasn't necessary. And we're doing the same precautions as Rose is as well.
That makes sense. And the person that asked also mentioned, what's the legal requirement, and per the Tennessee Pledge guidelines, it's just employees should wear a cloth face covering. So I think it goes back to whatever the person is comfortable with. Like Rose said, if you have the face shield and someone wants to wear them, then that's certainly an option. But the cloth mask is what is specifically written in the guidelines. What about our stylist or therapist or anyone, any of your employees required or encouraged to wear an apron while working with guests to keep germs from getting on clothing? And if so, how often should those be changed?
Yeah, so my team members, they like to wear aprons. It protects their clothes. They are required to wash those aprons every day, not between each guest.
We have, I've given my staff the option to wear a smock as well and change them in between each client, or to wear an apron.
All right, we have a lot of really good questions here. And if we don't get through all of these, which we probably won't, I will have these obviously after the webinar. And so I will talk with Rose and Sarah to make sure we get these answered, and we'll send them back out to you guys. what is the procedure? Do you guys have a procedure for if a client or an employee does end up testing positive for COVID-19? What's your plans for that? And then do you plan on having some sort of release for guests that are receiving services?
I can start on that one. I personally have decided to not have a signed release form for a guest. I also, for if someone does test positive, we are definitely respecting their privacy and also requiring them to take that quarantine time to get better and stay in. The recommended 2 weeks of quarantine if they've been even around someone or exposed. I think it's necessary too.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing. We would send everybody or send those individuals home immediately, of course. And along with Rose, we have chosen not to do the paper like signed waivers as well, because we feel like that's more passing of germs, so we're just going to take our time to do the verbal screenings. And whenever we get our touchless thermometer, we'll probably be implementing that as well for the guest.
Yeah. All right, let's do one or two more. We got one question. Can you talk about, I guess, logistically, how you've separated stations or how you've spread out just the working area in your salons, logistically speaking?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, we've got a very large facility, so we were already kind of spaced out. We're making where guests sit, there's 4 different large tables, and we're just going to ensure that there's only one guest at each table. And then we've also got some seating area available for them if they want to spread out even more, if we'll need more seating. We're getting really creative, like our nail room that's going to be underused this time. We have removed some of the nail furniture in here, and we have placed like 2 chairs in the nail room. So that way we can offer that to a guest that's, feeling really apprehensive, and we're just spacing out stations and guests.
So in a smaller salon, all of my stations are mobile. I can move them around, so I've spaced them out, and I've also taken some chairs and furniture out. Just more decorative items I've taken out just to keep everything very easily cleaned and spacious.
Great. The last thing I'll ask you guys is just, do you have any, final thoughts on this material or final advice to go over or anything like that? We'll start with Rose, and then we'll go to Sarah.
Well, I just wanted to say to everyone, I know everybody has been overwhelmed with all the new procedures, and I think that everyone should remember that what a great career we have, and how it's still going to be fun. It's not going to be that drastically different. Just keeping up with their sanitation, and just remember that just remember what you're supposed to do to keep everyone protected and safe, and don't get caught up in all the anxiety of it. And it's going to be okay, and we've all got this, and we're going to treat our community very well, and they're looking forward to seeing us, and we're looking forward to seeing them.
Thanks, Rose.
And what I would say is, I know that a lot of owners have a lot of anxiety leading up to the reopening, with all of these new guidelines and procedures that we're having to do. But I got some reassuring information from a salon owner in Georgia, and they said, if you've watched all of the webinars that you possibly could during this time to prepare yourself, you've gone through the efforts of, educating yourself to the fullest. You've gotten the supplies needed. You've thought about the logistics. That he guaranteed us that when we reopen our salon on the first day, as soon as that first day is over, we're going to feel a big heavy weight lifted off of our chest, and we will have less anxiety because we will see that it's doable and we can do this. So just try to keep your spirits high and, of course, be your biggest cheerleader for your team. This is hard on everybody, but we're all in this together.
Right.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you. You've given us so much information, and I think that this has been super helpful. I just want to say a couple more things, and then Jermaine can wrap us up. But so if you're on the webinar, you will receive the guidelines. We'll send you the link. We'll also send you a document with some other resources. There's a lot of websites out there where, if you don't have a design team, or, you're not a graphic designer, that's okay. There's plenty of companies out there and websites where you can get free signage and stuff like that. So I will send you guys all of that. You'll have access to that. And then thank you again to Rose and Sarah for joining us today and helping us out. And thank you to all of our attendees. We really appreciate your interest in keeping your clients and yourselves, your employees, and our community safe and healthy. And I will kick it off to Jermaine to finish.
Yeah, thank you, Brooke. Great job. Rose and Sarah, I did want to ask you one question, and I'm sort of thinking about the barbers that are out there, a lot of whom are traditionally very used to taking walk-in clients, and the world of doing appointments only is a new world for them. Do you have any advice or best practices for them on how to make that shift?
I would just keep the door locked and have a sign posted, just like a lot of the restaurants are doing. Before going in, you can call and see if there's some when the availability is that day. It doesn't have to be an appointment. Doesn't have to be so if you're used to a walk-in, you can kind of take your appointments like that too, that day of, and just make sure that you have a little time and that they understand, which I'm sure everyone will be willing to comply because they really want their haircut. That you just have to have a little heads up beforehand, with calling, texting, phone calls, whatever, and just keeping your door locked so you're ready for them when they do arrive.
Yeah, I agree with what Rose said, and just utilize your social media presence to educate people on how you'll be kind of operating during this time so they know.
Yeah, perfect. And I'll just add that I know a local barber who's not too tech savvy, but uses an app that can be downloaded easily called Booksy. So if there are any barbers that are on our webinar today and who are trying to figure out how to do appointments. Yep, that's right. Lori, I see your comment in the chat. It's Booksy. You spelled it exactly right. So it's OKSY, and he uses that app, which is downloadable to any smartphone, to set his appointments. And so I'm not and it looks like we've got another one in the chat. I'm not an expert on Booksy. I'm not a barber in my other life. but I know that I've used that app before to get appointments with our certain barber. So thank you guys for doing this today. Really great information.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for rolling with us. And again, the message that we want to make sure that we convey is, if you are a shop owner or if you are a stylist or a barber and you've got questions about how to operate safely, the best contact for you is going to be Bonnie Deacons, who is the Director of Environmental Health for the Hamilton County Health Department. And her number and the COVID hotline number is on the screen here. And then we've also got, we will also make available a link for the Tennessee Pledge Guidelines around close contact businesses, which of course includes hair salons, barbershops, massage, nail salons, tattoo shops, body art shops. And so we'll make those guidelines available. And then we are working to schedule soon some additional webinars around gym and fitness facilities, as well as childcare centers. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to follow up with by sending me or Brooke an email. But if you've got public health questions, you want to make sure that you contact Bonnie Deacons over at the Hamilton County Health Department. Thank you guys again. Rose and Sarah, you guys did a great job. So thank you for providing some great information to people. And Brooke, great job as always.
Thank you, guys.